Tracking the tropics. New tonight, forecasters watching an area of disturbance expected to bring unsettled weather by the weekend. Residents warned not to throw caution to the wind. And as this new tropical disturbance threatens our region, CARICOM leaders gather for the 47th meeting in Grenada. The island nation still reeling from the devastating impact of Monster Storm Beryl earlier this month. Also, the livable wage debate is back as the cost of living rises. The Labor Minister talks survival of our local workforce. Then in our news at 7:30, we ask the question, can Guyana supply the Bahamas with fuel resources? We explore possible benefits with the Foreign Minister straight ahead. Our news live at 7 starts right now. Welcome to our news live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Candino Knowles. In the past 24 hours, thunderstorm activity surged before fizzling out, but residents are being told don't be fooled as a disturbance is on the move in the tropics. Forecasters warn of slow development into a potential tropical depression. Whether it forms or not, we're being told expect a wet and unsettled weekend. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is live in the Weather Center tracking this, but for now, this latest tropical disturbance in our area comes as regional leaders gather in Grenada for the 47th meeting of CARICOM. Grenada itself still recovering from Monster Storm Beryl earlier this month. The annual meeting opening Sunday evening with a call for unity from outgoing CARICOM chairman and Guyanese President Dr. Mohammed Ifran Ali against what he describes as a mounted defense for the region against challenges crippling member countries. Dr. Ali pointing to climate change, inflation, rising shipping prices, inequality, and an energy crisis, which he reasons didn't start in the region. He cautioned Caribbean citizens that instead of blaming individual governments, we should recognize the failure of global systems.
Well, we have no oil that we know of that's available in commercial quantities, and I'm not sure where the licensing issues are with regard to the one company that had a license to do so. What we do have is oil bunkering here, so I'm sure if Guyanese interests require that, I'm sure there'd be commercial agreements that can follow from it.
All right, that clip we just heard there from Minister of Foreign Affairs, Fred Mitchell. We'll go back to more from the opening ceremony of CARICOM 47, but even the location of this year's CARICOM meeting speaks to the enormity of the regional challenges. Grenada itself still recovering, as we said, from Hurricane Beryl, a feat which the incoming chairman and Grenada Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell says is proof the body is more than talk but action. CARICOM states, including the Bahamas, sent millions of dollars in support to Grenada in Beryl's aftermath. The youngest prime minister in CARICOM made this pledge to the region.
I want to assure the citizens of the Caribbean community that the glasses are full, and it is our responsibility to get it to 3/4 full so that the next generation of Caribbean citizens could take it to 80% and 85%. We know it will never be full.
All right, we are still following this, so join our news at 7:30. Our Berthany McDermott is live from Grenada with more from today's meeting. Well, despite a minimum wage increase 2 years ago, government is being pressed for another one due to the rising cost of living and inflation. But the Minister for Labor is pointing to possibly another form of income that could potentially affect the middle class. Joshua Williams explains.
The discussion over a minimum wage increase is back on the table in what's being called livable wage. It's defined as income that is high enough to maintain a normal standard of living. Labor and Public Service Minister Pia Glover-Roll admits it's now a global discussion.
We were at the International Labour Conference in Geneva, Switzerland. On the 12th of July, we met with Patrick Belzer. We had consultations with him. He is a labour specialist, a wage specialist for the ILO. Discussions are not only being had for the Bahamas in regards to a livable wage, but globally.
There are supporting data and statistics showing justifiable increases. It's evidence the minister and her team cannot ignore.
It has to be from a data-driven and a research-driven approach. We have to ensure that while we are looking to implement a livable wage, that we also will have sustainability of our businesses or the employers. So this is a process that is ongoing.
But union leaders like Trade Union Congress President Obie Ferguson are increasingly vocal for another minimum wage increase, despite the 2022 raise from $210 to $260 per week. And while the Davis administration is credited with the first wage increase in 7 years, the labor minister can't say for sure if or when another increase will come. But she says,
we embrace the fact that there is global hyperinflation. The Bahamas is a consumer nation, and whatever is happening globally affects us locally.
And with all this talk of wage increase, there comes the humanity side of things. It's something the minister says we must not forget.
All of these things are mechanisms in which we are intending to employ to ensure that workers in our country are able to survive. There is only a grouping of persons, of course, in the nation that are at the minimum wage scale, but they are, we call them the least amongst us in some instances, and we also, as an administration, want to make sure that we're taking care of them.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
And police have charged a third suspect in a recent deadly shooting. Prosecutors say 28-year-old Dondre Ramsey played a role in the July 20th murder of Elvardo Thompson. That murder happening near East Street South Police Station in Pinewood Gardens. Ramsey also charged with possession of firearms with the intent to endanger the life of another after one of his alleged partners in crime allegedly opened fire on Police Constable 4476 McCarty during a police pursuit. Ramsey didn't have to enter a plea to the charge when he appeared before Chief Magistrate Roberto Reckley. He was denied bail. His matter has been adjourned to November 28th when he will be indicted. Ramsey's alleged accomplices, Jamal Hamilton and Shanton McSweeney, charged on Friday. Their matter adjourned to December 12th. And 2 men lost their lives in separate traffic fatalities yesterday. Most recent of the two happening at the entrance of Mount Pleasant Village in western New Providence. On the scene, head of the Police Traffic Division, Chief Superintendent Eugene Strawn, who said the fatality happened just after 7 p.m. He picks up the details from here. All right, now Chief Superintendent Strawn says a woman believed to be in her early 60s was seriously injured and was taken to hospital. The earlier incident happening just after 1 a.m. on Infant View Road and involved a 31-year-old man.
Investigation revealed that there was a lone motorcyclist who was at the time riding a 125cc motorbike. For some reason, lost control of that motorcycle and collided into a retainer wall at house number 7. He was taken to PMH, where we received this afternoon, sometime around 3 o'clock, that he had died as well.
And now to Grand Bahama, where we've got this update on Lucayan Tower South. The Supreme Court granting an ex parte injunction restraining Grand Bahama Port Authority Limited from revoking the occupancy certificate pending further legal proceedings. You may recall earlier this month, GBPA, Building and Development Services Department, issued a notice following significant concerns regarding the state of repair and potential safety hazards. In a recent statement, GBPA officials say this injunction acknowledges the complexities of the situation but does not alter the Port Authority's stance on the necessity of repairs for public safety. The BDS confirms they are continuing to monitor the situation closely and will work diligently to uphold safety standards while complying with the law. We've got much more to get to tonight, but for now, the tropics come back into focus as the Southeast Bahamas expected to feel the impact by Friday. With more on this now is meteorologist Greg Thompson. He's in the Weather Center. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Kendino. Yep, we are watching a system out there in the open Atlantic, disturbed area of showers and thunderstorms, disorganized at the time right now. You notice in the earlier shots we had quite a bit of yellows. Those were top clouds, thunderstorms, but most of that has died off right now. That system continues to make its way towards the west and west-northwest, heading towards the southern portion of the Windward Islands. But this system will continue to move towards the west-northwest and eventually turn more towards the northwest. We'll show you how things are going to be progressing with the system as it continues to pull out towards that direction. This is the system we're talking about right here. And of course, we expect that system once again to be moving in this general direction, heading towards the Southeast Bahamas. As you mentioned earlier, we expect some showers and thunderstorm activity with the system as it continues to move towards that. Right now, it's in an area that's not conducive for any development. A lot of wind shear, very dry air mass. You'll show you that in our water vapor. But by the time it gets to the Great Antilles, Puerto Rico, and Hispaniola, that will be sometime by midweek. We expect the system to move into an area that's a little more conducive for development. National Hurricane Center giving this about a 50% chance for formation, and it's expected to, as I mentioned, make some showers, develop some showers and thunderstorms in that general vicinity. Of course, the dry air mass that we're talking about with that system, this is the water vapor. A lot of dry air affecting the system, and some Saharan dust actually also involved with this. And you have an upper level low that's providing a little bit of a shift, so it's keeping the system a little intact. But once again, as the system moves towards the Bahamas, by the end of the week, we expect it to be moving into some more favorable conditions, and it's expected to develop. If it does not develop, it's still likely to produce a lot of showers and thunderstorms as it gets into our neck of the woods. Abundant moisture will be in place, low wind shear, tropical wave moving in our general vicinity. And once again, I mentioned if it does not develop, it's going to produce the showers and thunderstorms, but likely to just approach a very low-end tropical depression. So we're asking you to continue to monitor the progress of this system over the next couple of days. Not really to get all excited, but we are also making the point that you should have your hurricane plans in place. This is now the meat of the season. Mid-August to September is when we start to see all these systems come off of Africa and head our way. That's what we have right now on this system. We'll tell you more about it later on in our newscast.
Thanks, Greg. And still to come on our news, the central bank governor says the recent global software outage should be a learning lesson for local businesses. He's now calling for a thorough review and enhanced recovery measures. But first, coming up in our sports, Bahamian swimmer Lamar Taylor, the first athlete in action for Team Bahamas at the 2024 Paris Olympics. When our news returns.
Are you tired of endless job?
No travel, no problem. Summer is here. Whether you're fighting to stay cool or heating up the fun, Our News Weekend is your guide to the ultimate staycation. We're talking all of the hidden gems right in our backyard, from the hottest bars and lounges to the coolest excursions and events in town. So stay cool, stay local, and stay tuned. Tune in every Saturday to make sure your summer staycation is an unforgettable sensation. Only on Our News Weekend.
This video needs to show us on a different scale. It has to be
extra. What, eh?
Hey, Quay.
Hey, what you saying?
Where you is?
I heard you on the bus stop.
Bahamian baseballer Jazz Chisholm scores his 3 firsts, including a win as a Yankee in his debut, plus Lamar Taylor to hit the pool as the first Bahamian athlete in action at the 2024 Paris Olympics. Our sports comes your way now.
This update from the Paris Olympics is powered by the Bahamas Striping Group of Companies.
Welcome to Our Sports at 7, presented by 10th Year Seniors. I'm Ronaldo Dorset. That's Sean Mark Nutt. Let's do show. The newest Yankee seemed right at home in the lineup for the Bronx Bombers. Jazz Chisholm got his first hit, first stolen base, and first win as a Yankee in his debut.
I was just hoping I'd still be able to start the game, you know what I mean? He texted me yesterday and asked me if starting would be too much for me after coming off the plane, and I was just like, no, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to come help us win, go out there and play my butt off.
Lamar Taylor would be the first athlete in action for Team Bahamas at the Paris Olympics.
We have maybe about 20 to 30 athletes every year, sometimes even less, that are able to represent the Bahamas. I'm just very happy and glad to be one of those athletes and be a role model for the younger kids.
Taylor will swim in Heat 5 of the men's 100-meter free at 5:26 local time.
The Bahamas Basketball Federation Summer of Thunder and the Bahama Hoop Summer League will both be in action this week. The events showcase local talent, gives visiting schools an early look at their rosters for the upcoming season, and provides an economic boost through sports tourism.
It's just a great opportunity for those teams to get some additional practices in the summer, do a little team bonding in a great location, and get ready for the season when they hit the court for real in October.
Team Bahamas finished 8th in the U15 Central Basket Championship for women in David, Panama. In the tournament finale, the team lost 64-47 to Nicaragua.
That'll do it for our sports. This is 10YS. Stay tuned to our news at 7:30 for details on these stories and more. Back to the studio.
When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as U.S. President Joe Biden calls for term limits for Supreme Court judges. Plus, the opposition claims victory in Venezuela's presidential election on Sunday, but the government insists Nicolas Maduro has won. And we'll tell you the strongest passport from this region as Caribbean countries see improved rankings on the most powerful list. The story when our news returns.
Video needs to show us on a different scale. It has to be
Extra. What, eh?
Hey, Quay.
Hey, what you saying?
Where you with?
I heard you on the bus stop with my friend.
Okay, so we want to shoot this video, and it's gonna be extra.
All right, Jim. I can just come to you. All right. I need you 25 cents no more.
The Paradise Hotel.
When can I sell?
Is this what the hotel is really worth?
The kids find themselves on more exciting island adventures.
So stay tuned for some really hot new episodes.
This is 242 The Gospel.
Are you ready for the stormy season? Don't wait until the storm clouds gather. Contact the experts at Alive Business today and let us help you prepare for this hurricane season. For a limited time only, you can get 50% off our Bahamas Cloud, the ultimate solution to secure your data and communications, ensuring they're accessible even in the worst of weather conditions. Don't let the storm catch you off guard this season. Stay ahead of the game with Bahamas Cloud from Alive Business.
This is our news. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. United States President Joe Biden has proposed major reforms to the Supreme Court, calling for term limits and a code of ethics to restore trust. Biden suggests appointing a new justice every 2 years to serve 18-year terms and establishing ethics rules for justices. He also seeks a constitutional amendment to limit presidential immunity, reversing a recent Supreme Court decision. The reform efforts, though unlikely to pass in Congress, aim to galvanize voters ahead of the 2024 election. Republicans have criticized these moves, accusing Biden of trying to undermine the court's legitimacy. And Donald Trump has agreed to be interviewed by the FBI as part of its investigation into the assassination attempt at his rally in Pennsylvania on July 13. The FBI described the interview as a standard victim interview to understand Trump's perspective. Investigators are still determining the motive behind Thomas Matthew Crook's actions. New text messages reveal he was spotted over 90 minutes before the shooting, highlighting security lapses. Crooks, who was killed by the Secret Service after opening fire, had made significant efforts to plan and conceal his activities. Multiple investigations are now examining the security failures at the rally. Venezuela's opposition claimed victory in Sunday's presidential election, despite the government declaring President Nicolas Maduro the winner. Opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez asserted a significant lead based on 40% of voting tallies. The National Electoral Council, controlled by Maduro loyalists, reported Maduro won with 51% of the vote, but withheld detailed results. Foreign leaders, including U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, expressed doubts about the announced results. Maduro accused foreign entities of trying to disrupt peace, while opposition figures highlighted significant security and electoral failures. And Barbados has retained the top spot as the most powerful passport in the Caribbean, according to the 2024 Henley Passport Index, with the Bahamas following in second. Barbados ranks 20th globally with visa-free access to 165 destinations. Guyana and Jamaica have both joined the top 10 list this year. Singapore holds the most powerful passport worldwide with visa-free access to 195 destinations. A full listing is available now at ournews.bs. And in the aftermath of the unprecedented global Microsoft software outage that devastated nearly every sector of the world's economy, Central Bank Governor John Roll explained the failure should be turned into a crucial learning opportunity. Here at home, the outage affected banks, services, as well as air travel. Roll now calling for a thorough review and enhancement of recovery measures within Bahamian businesses. This, he says, is to strengthen resilience against future disruptions.
It reminds all of our businesses that under even the best of times, you need to have very robust recovery plans in your business operations. And we think very actively in terms of our payment space around how we manage the recoverability of payments whenever there are disruptions. But one of the things that the experience did not fully draw out, but that is also on our radar as a central bank, though, is that we need to strengthen the domestic payment system capacity to function if there are any setbacks internationally.
And Governor Roll says the software glitch, which occurred back on July 19th, should not be an excuse for businesses to shy away from going fully digital.
We continue to look at how we can transition the Bahamas over the next 2 years, and not much longer than that, to what we would consider to be a real-time fast payment system, but particularly an infrastructure where even for card payments, they can be routed and processed within an entirely local payments loop. So that would add to the sort of redundancies and backup that we should have in the system.
Still to come on Our News, Today in History. Find out interesting facts about the day that was July 29th. Then in Our News at 7:30, regional leaders convene in hurricane-ravaged Grenada for the 47th CARICOM Heads of Government meeting. We'll show you more from today's opening straight ahead. Plus, we are keeping an eye on a possible weather system out in the Atlantic. Meteorologist Greg Thompson joins us live in the Weather Center when Our News returns.
No travel.
On this day in Bahamian history in 1853, Governor John Gregory died of tropical fever at Government House. He served as governor from 1849 until his death. During his tenure, Gregory Arch was built in Nassau, and Gregory Town in Eleuthera, also known as Pineapple City, was named after him. Born in Canterbury in 1795, Gregory's Arch is a significant historical landmark in the Bahamas, symbolizing the socio-economic divide of the time. It separated Bay Street, the commercial hub, from Grant's Town, the settlement of liberated Africans and freed slaves. This division continued long after emancipation, with laborers required to return to their side of the arch by sundown, a practice that persisted into the early 1900s. And in 2014, Haitian President Michel Martelly visited the Bahamas to sign a memorandum of understanding allowing produce trade between Haiti and the Bahamas. Martelly encouraged Bahamians to invest in Haiti to help reduce the number of Haitians making dangerous journeys to the Bahamas in search of a better life. He acknowledged the responsibility of successive Haitian governments for the situation.
By creating wealth among Haitians, then you have a potential of getting more visitors here. Because yes, these Haitians will be coming to the Bahamas, but because they will be workers, they probably come here to visit instead of coming here to live. So this is a situation we are addressing.
We have always recognized that Haiti is very strong on culture. And so there are other areas of the agreement which we anticipate will be implemented to the benefit of both countries. I think Bahamians can look forward to a much more sort of shared approach, not only to protecting our borders, but to promoting our respective economies.
Her hands have helped countless throughout the community, and tonight, a local doctor is in need of a helping hand. Thousands of dollars are needed for a heart transplant that will save the life of the physician who has been airlifted to the Cayman Islands for further treatment. Our Joshua Williams has been following her story.
There's a quote that says, "Wherever the art of medicine is loved, there is a love for humanity." And right now, that quote rings loudly more than ever. After serving the community and meeting the needs of others for years, Dr. Jada Wallace-Pinder is now in need of a helping hand herself. The need? A heart transplant. Her family, along with the Medical Association of the Bahamas, appealing to the public on her behalf to cover mounting medical expenses.
Most of you know we only managed 3 months now. And, I'd just like, let you guys, just keep praying for her, and whatever you can do to help, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Dr. Jada is currently in the intensive care unit at Doctors Hospital, her heart supported by machines. Her family says the cost to transport her to a facility in the Cayman Islands ranges between $200,000 and $300,000, the operation itself stretching into the millions.
It's really important for us to express to you that we understand that everybody is going through trying times, but this life-changing, life-sustaining surgery that she needs is very expensive, and it would be difficult for anyone to meet this financial challenge.
Those who know her best say Dr. Wallace-Pinder is a giving physician who's Caribbean trained and takes pride in building her nation.
Dr. Wallace was a very quiet person when it comes to personal matters, but she was always outspoken when it came to her patients, and she was always an advocate for those around her.
The family says they're grateful for the physicians and staff at Doctors Hospital who've cared for Jada thus far. They say a GoFundMe has been set up to facilitate assistance.
We are looking for any support that we can get from the community, whether it is in financial support as well as prayers.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
All right, thanks so much for that, Josh. If you want to learn more about that story and for all of today's top stories, you can visit ournews.bs. And of course, Our News Bahamas on Facebook. That does it for us in News at 7. Joining us now is Marlena Leonard with the latest headlines. Marlena?
Thanks, Ken. Well, regional leaders convene in hurricane-ravaged Grenada for the 47th CARICOM meeting. Plus, we are keeping an eye on a possible weather system out in the Atlantic. Here are your latest headlines.
Tonight on Our News, a reminder to stay prepared.
First tonight on Our News Live at 7:30, a disturbance in the Atlantic having a 50% chance of development into a tropical depression within the next 7 days. We have the latest. This as regional leaders gather at the 47th CARICOM meeting, hoping to address the pressing matter of climate change. Our Bethany McDermott is on the ground and brings us the latest. Plus, could Guyana be an answer to helping the country find cheaper avenues for purchasing oil? We asked the Foreign Affairs Minister. His response coming up. And later, the heartwarming story of a local union committee banding together to provide over 100 women and girls with much-needed essential items. All that and more when Our News Live at 7:30 returns.
Well, what you doing here?
I dig in the well to connect to the house of Billy for me and Mavis.
Why you just don't call water and sewage?
Call them for what?
To get your city water. You don't have to worry about your water cutting off when the power cut off. And your water's clean and safe, free from coliform bacteria.
Cauliflower what?
Call us at 302-5500 to make the switch from well water to city water for a more fresh, reliable water supply for you and your family.
Bahamas Power and Light Company Limited looks forward to helping our customers eliminate wasted energy. Energy conservation is the decision and practice of using less energy. Energy efficiency means using less energy to perform the same task, unplugging appliances not in use. That's energy conservation. Replacing an old refrigerator or washing machine with a new model. Adding insulation to the attic and walls of a home. That's energy efficiency. People conserve to gain more control over their energy bill and to reduce demand on the Earth's natural resources. Take this journey with us as we build for better. BPL.
I'm Michaela Kerr. I'm an 18-year-old freshman at the University of the Bahamas, and I'm a computer science major.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. I'm Marlena Leonard. Residents are being told, don't be fooled, as a disturbance is on the move in the tropics. Forecasters warn of a slow development into a potential tropical depression. Now, whether it forms or not, we're being told to expect a wet and unsettled weekend. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is live in the Weather Center tracking this. Now, as we breathe a sigh of relief over this latest disturbance, at least for now, it accelerates the urgency of regional leaders in trying to get larger nations on board in addressing climate change. The 47th meeting of CARICOM leaders is underway in Grenada tonight. Ironically, in a country still recovering from Monster Storm Beryl earlier this month. The annual meeting of CARICOM heads opening Sunday evening with a call for unity from outgoing CARICOM chairman and Guyanese president, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, against what he describes as a mounted defense for the region against challenges crippling member countries. While climate change is high on the agenda, leaders are also discussing inflation, rising shipping prices, inequality, and the energy crisis. The Bahamas' delegation in Grenada is led by Education Minister Glenys Hannah Martin. Well, CARICOM leaders spent a full day in sessions today. Our Bethany McDermott is in Grenada covering the 47th session of CARICOM, and he sends this report from Grenada tonight.
The region has to remain as one and to speak as one, even if it means saying the same thing over and over and over as we've agreed to, but we need to do it.
That's the game plan from Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley. In the face of a worsening climate crisis, it's once again high on CARICOM's agenda. Mottley has become the face of climate justice in the region and continues to push for solutions on a global stage. Just weeks ago, this same island nation was battered by Monster Storm Beryl, as was Barbados and Vincent and the Grenadines and Jamaica. Mottley continues to blame the international community for a failure to act.
The international community has not been stepping up to the plate, either on the loss and damage fund or sufficiently on some of the other issues. We've made progress, for example, with the natural disaster clauses and other things, but we need to be able to ensure that there's a greater pool of concessional funds. And I think that we regionally have to do more for ourselves than we have been doing.
But she's not the only Caribbean leader in this fight, as many are unhappy over the lack of response to the loss and damage fund established at COP27. St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves is one of the more outspoken leaders whose country was also heavily damaged in Beryl.
When the loss and damage fund was established at COP27 in Egypt, they established it without any money. A fund without any money is an oxymoron. The second thing is that the extent of pledges so far to the fund is marginal. So there's a talk, but people not, the developed countries and the major emitters not putting the money where their mouth is.
That report from our Berthany McDermott and Emilio Carey, who are both on the ground in Grenada. And of course, be sure and stay tuned to Our News this week for continued coverage of the 47th CARICOM Heads of Government meeting. Well, one of our Caribbean neighbors, now in the oil business, experiencing a major boost in its economy. Guyana's most recent estimate of recoverable oil and natural gas resources is more than 11 billion oil equivalent barrels. Prime Minister Philip Davis has said the Bahamas was exploring ways to find cheaper avenues of purchasing oil in hopes of dropping local prices for consumers. But with escalating oil prices, the question remains if this could be beneficial to the Bahamas. It's a question put to Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell.
Well, we have no oil that we know of that's available in commercial quantities, and I'm not sure where the licensing issues are with regard to the one company that had a license to do so. What we do have is oil bunkering here, so I'm sure if Guyanese interests require that, I'm sure there'd be commercial agreements that can follow from it.
And the Bahamian economy has shown resilient expansion through the first half of 2024, according to a recent report from Central Bank Governor John Roll. Governor Roll highlighted that despite moderate growth from the rapid recovery post-pandemic, the economy remains slightly ahead of its expected medium-term potential, driven by robust tourism gains and steady foreign investment.
The government's improved revenue position also benefited from these trends. The outcome also remained positive for employment, including through construction activities. In the meantime, the inflation rate further subsided as the pass-through from higher prices on imported goods and services receded. In addition, monetary and credit trends reflected additional improvement in credit quality and modest firming in the pace of lending to the private sector.
The foreign exchange market has also seen positive developments. The central bank reported a 50% increase in the net sale of foreign exchange to the bank, reaching just over $400 million through June 2024.
Inflow moderation was evident from a more constrained increase in commercial bank purchases of foreign currency from the private sector of about 2.2% during the first half of 2024, compared to a rise of about 3.5% in 2023. However, at the same time, demand for foreign exchange seen in commercial bank sales fell by 2.6% over this period, given moderated outlays for oil imports and reduced outflows on credit cards and related transactions.
Well, for the past few days, it feels like all eyes have been on a weather disturbance the National Hurricane Center has been following. Tonight, we're looking at that 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook in hopes of better understanding what it means and how to prepare. A disturbance in the Atlantic marked in the National Hurricane Center's 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook has been the topic of discussion over the past few days, leaving many stressed as all islands of the Bahamas are highlighted in the area of a disturbance which has a 50% chance of development in the next 7 days. Put simply, it does not automatically mean there's a hurricane coming. Based on the NHC's Monday 2 p.m. update, it means there's a 50% chance that the area of disturbed weather in the Atlantic could possibly develop into a tropical depression within the next 7 days. And that depends on conditions in the Atlantic. The chance of it happening within the next 48 hours? marked it low at near 0%. So while there's no need to panic, now's a good time to check in with your level of hurricane preparedness. Things like making sure you have enough non-perishable food and water for each person for 3 to 7 days, a battery-operated radio and clock, and cash. And even if not for this potential storm, it's vital to know where your nearest shelter is and backup location. For more tips like how to put together a go bag with important documents, medication, and money, as well as ensuring you have a storm plan for your pets, you can watch more of our hurricane preparedness stories on ournews.bs. Well, we have much more to get to tonight, but we have the tropics in focus right now, as the central and northwest Bahamas are expected to feel the impact of some weather by Saturday. With more on this is meteorologist Greg Thompson standing by in the Weather Center. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Marley. There's some great tips there, and of course, as we did tell you before the hurricane season, preparation is the name of the game. We do have systems out there now starting to look favorable in some areas. We started looking out into the area just to the east of the Leeward Islands, and then of course, Beryl started well out there and moved in our direction. So the conditions are kind of ripe for some systems out in the open Atlantic. But right now, this system is disorganized. It's coming into phase with a tropical wave, and air disturbed weather will continue to track towards the west-northwest. Should be approaching the Leeward Islands by midweek. That's Wednesday time frame, Thursday time frame, but it's expected to continue in a westward track, moving across the Great Antilles, that's Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, by the end of the week and get near the southeast Bahamas. By that time, we expect it to move into an area that's favorable for development, so it's likely that this system could gain some strength, possibly to a tropical depression, but we don't expect it to strengthen any further than that. But it's going to affect the Bahamas, the chain of islands, over the weekend, so it looks like a wet weekend ahead. Of course, make sure you get your hurricane plans in place because the hurricane season is starting to get into the meat of the season, which is mid-August to mid-September. There's a frontal boundary to the north, and we expect a dip in the jet stream. So there are a couple of scenarios. One is going to take this system towards the north and away from us, and the other one is likely to put it in the Gulf of Mexico. But most of the models are not in agreement right now, so we are asking you to continue to monitor progress of the system over the next couple of days. That's a quick check on this system. We'll tell you more later on in our newscast.
Still to come on Our News, bringing labor laws into the 21st century. A labor legislation symposium underway in the capital. We have the full story straight ahead. And a 21-year-old unanimously acquitted of a 2022 murder. We have the details when Our News returns.
Hey, Liquor. I'm an 18-year-old freshman at the University of the Bahamas, and I'm a computer science major. I'm also the NT Corporation's Youth Ambassador for the Environment, and I'm an environmentalist. My journey as the environmental advocate began with a simple yet profound realization that our environment is degrading right in front of my eyes. And being NT's Youth Ambassador for the Environment means that my words and my actions hold the power to help change the environment and the world around me. I find it exciting that I can be a student, live my life, and use my words and my voice to change the environment and world around me. Most times I think it's a privilege. It's our environment and it's our generation to own. I don't think as a young person that there's anything more rewarding than being a part of bringing awareness. I'm Michaela Kerr, and I'm making a difference in my own words.
Are you or a loved one under medical care? Do you need affordable medical supplies? Ports International is the largest home healthcare supplier. Medical supplies at the very best price, and you can even shop online. From hospital beds to wound care, wheelchairs to walkers, Ports is a one-stop shop for your medical supplies, and we accept insurance. We have online shopping and 2 locations to serve you, at the Airport Industrial Park and Shirley Street. We also ship to the Family Islands. Shop online and visit us on Facebook. Call Ports at 377-1771.
A jury has unanimously acquitted 21-year-old Wood Carl Pasteur of murder. Prosecutors allege that Pasteur was responsible for the July 22, 2022 murder of Keithon Johnson at Peter Street. Johnson was killed by a lone gunman who chased him inside his home. A witness claimed that she saw Pasteur approach the house and saw him fleeing after hearing gunshots. Pasteur exercised his right to remain silent at his trial before Justice Gregory Hilton. However, his lawyer, Miranda Adderley, suggested that the witness was mistaken in her identification. And labor and trade union executives gathering today for the nation's first ever labor legislation symposium. Its goal? The development of a comprehensive slate of recommendations to reform the legislative framework for public and private sector labor in the Bahamas. Labor and Public Service Minister is Pia Glover-Roll.
We anticipate that the work that will come out of this symposium will be one that will not only bring our labor legislation into the 21st century, but also become futuristic in the way that we embrace our legislation, that we're looking at not only how we operate with labor today, but how are these laws going to incorporate the labor forces of the future.
The minister also sharing that those suggestions and recommendations will be brought to lawmakers to modernize legislation.
Coming out of this symposium should be a white paper on the recommendations, the suggestions that are made here over the next 3 days regarding labor legislation in our country. We look forward to comprehensive legislation changes because we're operating from very antiquated policies in some instances when it comes to labor in our country. Laws that have not been amended since 1971, 2001, that still speak to very antiquated and analog processes.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When Our News comes back from the break, over 100 women and girls receive essential items free of charge thanks to the heartwarming efforts of a local union committee banding together to care for the community.
Coming up in sports, Jazz goes straight from the airport to the field to make his Yankee debut, and Dominic Bridgewater goes off at the Summer of Thunder.
Energy conservation is the decision and practice of using less energy.
No travel, no problem. Summer is here. Whether you're fighting to stay cool or heating up the fun, Our News Weekend is your guide to the ultimate staycation. We're talking all of the hidden gems right in our backyard, from the hottest bars and lounges to the coolest excursions and events in town. So stay cool, stay local, and stay tuned. Tune in every Saturday to make sure your summer staycation is an unforgettable sensation. Only on Our News Weekend.
This video needs to show us on a different scale. It has to be extra.
What, eh?
Hey, Quay.
Hey, what you saying?
Where you with?
I heard you on the bus stop with my friend.
Okay, so we want to shoot this video, and it's gonna be extra.
All right, Jim. I can just come to you. All right. I need you 25 cents no more.
The Paradise Hotel.
When can I sell?
Is this what the hotel is really worth?
The kids find themselves on more exciting island adventures.
So stay tuned for some really hot new episodes.
This is 242 The Gospel.
Are you ready for the stormy season? Don't wait until the storm clouds gather. Contact the experts at Alive Business today and let us help you prepare for this hurricane season. For a limited time only, you can get 50% off our Bahamas Cloud, the ultimate solution to secure your data and communications, ensuring they're accessible even in the worst of weather conditions. Don't let the storm catch you off guard this season. Stay ahead of the game with Bahamas Cloud from Alive Business.
Welcome to Our Sports, presented by 10th Year Seniors. I'm Ronaldo Dorset. That's John Mark Nutt. Let's do show. Jazz Chisholm donned the Yankee threads for the first time yesterday and was immediately thrust into one of the most intense rivalries in all sports. Chisholm made his Yankee debut in New York's 8-2 win over the Boston Red Sox last night at Fenway Park in Boston. Chisholm landed in Boston just 90 minutes before the first pitch, got the start in center field, hit fifth in the lineup, and finished 1 for 5 at the plate with a stolen base and a run scored.
The drive over here, we were in the car for an extra 30 minutes because of the traffic. There's a lot of stops into getting here, but I got here, put on the uniform, and went out there and played.
He beat out an infield single at the top of the ninth for his first hit as a Yankee. He advanced to second on a Gleyber Torres ground out, stole third, and eventually scored on a DJ LeMahieu sac fly. The stolen base was his 23rd of the season and tied a career high.
The Bahamas Basketball Federation's Summer of Thunder got off to an exciting start on opening weekend. Dominic Bridgewater exploded for 53 points and Keno Burrows scored 24 points, but their raw talent elite squad lost 109-104 to the University of North Carolina Wilmington Sunday afternoon at the Kendall Isaacs Gymnasium. Bridgewater shot 18 from 31 from the field and made 10 three-pointers. Burrows added 7 points and 6 assists. The Skyhawks took an early 34-27 lead at the end of the first quarter. At halftime, the Skyhawks led 58-48. Bridgewater and Burrows led the raw talent comeback in the third, outscoring UNCW 28-21 in the period and trailed just by 3 points heading into the fourth, 79-76. In the end, the Seahawks' depth proved to be too much for raw talent. All 10 visiting players scored and 5 reached double figures, led by 20 from Kamari McGriff.
We'll have even more opportunities to see local talent go up against visiting collegiate programs at the Bahama Hoop Summer League. The University of Louisville Cardinals will be in town this week for a pair of exhibitions at the Bahama Convention Center. The Cardinals will play against the Bahama Select Team on Tuesday, July 30th at 7 p.m. and the University of Calgary Dinos on Thursday, August 1st at noon.
It's a great opportunity to see how the Bahamian talent, which just keeps getting better and better, matches up against some of the best talent from around the world that comprise these different rosters on these NCAA teams.
It's back to the drawing board for the Junior Girls National Basketball Team program. It was a winless finish for the Bahamas at the Central Basket U15 Championships for women in David, Panama. They concluded the tournament Sunday afternoon with a 64-47 loss to Nicaragua and finished in 8th place. Rakara Beto led the Bahamas with 16 points and 8 rebounds, while Andika Curtis scored 12 points and grabbed 7 rebounds. The Bahamas finished 0-5. Curtis led the team in several stat categories at 10.2 points, 6.8 rebounds, and 2.2 assists per game.
Lamar Taylor will be the first athlete in action for Team Bahamas at the Paris Olympics.
I feel pretty confident going into my individual event on Tuesday. I've been training all summer for this one moment, so I'm willing to put everything on the line and just give it all I got in my individual, planning to try and come out first and to have my best chance and best odds of making the semifinal.
Taylor will swim in Heat 5 of the men's 100-meter free at 5:26 a.m. local time. I'm sure everyone will be up watching. That'll do it for Our Sports. This is 10YS. I guess the Yankees didn't have a problem with Jazz's character issues.
No, clean cut, police cut, meant to be a Yankee.
Back to the studio.
Still ahead on Our News tonight, over 100 women and girls receive essential items free of charge thanks to the heartwarming efforts of a local union committee banding together. And we're still keeping a close eye on that disturbance in the Atlantic. Greg is back in the Weather Center with your extended weather forecast when Our News returns.
No travel, no problem. Summer is here. Whether you're fighting to stay cool or heating up the fun, Our News Weekend is your guide to the ultimate staycation. We're talking all of the hidden gems right in our backyard, from the hottest bars and lounges to the coolest excursions and events in town. So stay cool, stay local, and stay tuned. Tune in every Saturday to make sure your summer staycation is an unforgettable sensation. Only on Our News Weekend.
This video needs to show us on a different scale. It has to be
Extra. What, eh?
Hey, Quay.
Hey, what you saying?
Where you is?
I right here on the bus stop with my friend.
Okay, so we want to shoot this video, and it's gonna be extra.
All right, Jim. I can just come to you. All right. I need your 25 cents no more.
The Paradise Hotel.
When can I sell? Is this what the hotel is really worth?
The kids find themselves on more exciting island adventures.
So stay tuned for some really hot new episodes.
This is 242 the Gospel.
Are you ready for the stormy season? Don't wait until the storm clouds gather. Contact the experts at Alive Business today and let us help you prepare for this hurricane season. For a limited time only, you can get 50% off our Bahamas Cloud, the ultimate solution to secure your data.
This is our news. Welcome back. We are tracking that area of disturbed weather out there in the open Atlantic, just approaching the Leeward Islands as we speak. Not organized at this time, but continue its track towards the west-northwest. Should get near the Greater Antilles, Hispaniola, and Puerto Rico by about midweek to Thursday time frame, and we expect it to move into an area that's favorable for some slow and gradual development. Could likely become a tropical depression, but we don't anticipate it to get any stronger than that. But it will bring some showers and thunderstorms to the chain of islands. Time frame, basically the southeast Bahamas by Friday, Saturday into the central and northwest Bahamas, and eventually by Sunday it should be pulling to the north and away from us or moving into the Gulf of Mexico. But we're asking you to continue to monitor the progress of the system as it continues to trek. This is the time frame, as I mentioned, moving across the area. Dry air mass once it reaches the Puerto Rico Hispaniola area, but as it approaches the southeast Bahamas, abundant moisture, low wind shear is expected to help to enhance the system, and it's going to be into an area that's favorable for some further development. So continue to watch the system over the next several days. Boating forecast for the northwest and central Bahamas tonight to tomorrow. East to southeast winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Your tide is presently high, will be low at 10:30 tonight. High tide is at 3:57 in the morning. For the southeast Bahamas, caution flag for you guys down there. East to southeast winds 15 knots, seas running 3 to 5 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, we will continue to watch the progress of that system out there in the open Atlantic, but for the next couple of days, it should be pretty nice. It's the weekend that is looking rather soggy, so if you have plans for that, you may have to reconsider that. But once again, continue to monitor the progress of that system as it gets near us. Marlena?
Thanks, Greg. Well, tonight we're highlighting another worthy cause that's helping dozens of women and girls. Joshua Williams tells us about the local union committee effort providing essential personal items free of charge.
The Cancer Society of the Bahamas and the Willie Mae Pratt Center for Girls recently received a generous donation of toiletries and personal care items from the Bahamas Union of Teachers Women's Committee. The supplies, including napkins, bed sheets, pillows, and dental hygiene products, are expected to benefit over 100 women. Committee President Anishka Gibson shared that initiatives like this are at the heart of what they do, showing their commitment to supporting the community.
It is funded by the government. However, they are always in need, especially of, toiletries and stuff for the girls that are often left there or often sent there for various reasons. And as well as the Cancer Society, we have the Cancer Society that often houses women from the family islands, and they are definitely in need of supplies as well.
Representatives from the Cancer Society and the Center for Girls say these donations make a big difference, as items like these have a greater impact on the lives of their residents than many might realize.
But we always can use a little bit more. We have girls that are in and out of the center, and so sometimes they don't have exactly what it is that they need. And so as much as persons can partner with us, we would greatly appreciate it.
So these supplies are greatly appreciated because, having cancer treatment is very costly. And so sometimes they could only pay for their treatment, but they need their personal hygiene items.
The committee is urging corporate Bahamas to get more involved with initiatives like this and expresses gratitude to those who have assisted with this project.
And we also want to recognize our corporate sponsors as well. We had 2 corporate sponsors. We had Mr. Paul Smith from Electro Telecom, as well as Harborside Marine Resort. They partnered with us as well. Also, we had a mini raffle. Our committee hosted a mini raffle where we were able to raise some funds to give back for one of our social outreach programs this year.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
Always great to see people giving back to the community. Well, thank you for joining us for Our News tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Marlena Leonard. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.